called baggage. We spent the last 4 years of high school measuring up equality more than measuring lengths with our rulers. I was called a nigger and blackface in the classroom and no one said a word. My teacher only cared about being in a position of learning authority instead of having a heart to care that I was being pushed into the derogatory state of being a minority. That day, I fastened miracles on flagpoles in hope that my teacher would give it a wave. So for once in my life, things could go my way. But I was looked in the eye and told there's nothing we can do. In that moment, I was through. I became one of the 30% of black students that dropped out of school. That day, I was discriminated against and no one said a word was the day I knew my voice would never be heard. Part 2. I was told I had a cognitive learning disability, but I didn't need to worry because I had a learning support teacher to stay at my side at all times, giving me all the help I could possibly need to get by. But for the last 4 years of high school, that girl had emotional disability. She carried more razor blades in her hands than pencils. What kind of school help does she get? You haven't even heard her story yet. She carried razor blades instead of pencils because her blood leaves thicker scars, while pencils carve mistakes that are too deep to erase. She sat in guidance with open hands because she had stars in the palm of them. Those stars would grant wishes if she just had something to hold on to, something to never lose. But they sent her away when all she wished for was a hand to hold to tell her, we want you to stay. She became one of the 7,000 students that drop out of high school every day. Part 3. She chose to carry her baby in her arms instead of her textbooks. They called her slut and whore without even knowing the truth. They don't know that boy stole her virginity in strife and now is being given the gift of life. No one heard her cries that night. She was forced to dive head first instead of being able to gently dip her toes in. She dreamed of constellation, so she had something to connect to, but she was told over and over she ruined her life and there's nothing anyone can do. She became part of the 30% of girls that drop out of school due to pregnancy, thinking it was her fault. That boy was never charged with assault. Part 4. I carry more stress in my body than knowledge in my mind. We are graded not by the knowledge we are graded by the knowledge we memorize, not the knowledge we already know. We get categorized by the results we show and not the effort we put in. We get told who, what, and where, but never why. Yes, you have a master's degree and have earned the right to teach us, but why can't you put down your grade books and try to reach us? We need adults who will listen to what we have to say, not judge us because we are just teenagers to experience to give the time of day. You degrade us every time you tell us we are wrong. We get stressed out by the pressure of having to be the best. If you will never amount to anything if we don't pass your tests. We spend hours on homework only to get a 0 because we did not meet your standards of complete. Our minds cannot take this anymore. The steps we've walked is no longer worth being recognized because you only care about the path we've traveled. And it's time for us to go our own way. Part 5. It's time to raise up so students' voices can be heard, so they know we want them to say, so they know the assault was not her fault, so they aren't left with the anxiety to go their own way. We spend the last 4 years of high school carrying more baggage on our shoulders than books in our backpacks. Addressing the dropout crisis is not about choosing the right answer. It's about unloading all the baggage and looking back at the assumptions we're making because maybe we're not all looking at the same problem.